Hey, Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today. Use code CHGO. When you sign up, Ryan, how'd I do?
You sounded just like Stuckey. I'd give you at least a B+.
Okay. Coming from you, that means a lot. That's good energy coming into this because this is an emergency podcast. The Cubs are calling up Matt Mervis. I'm Cody. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody_CHGO. You can follow Ryan at Ryan_A_Herrera. That was off the top of my head. Did I get that right, Ryan?
You got him right. Right. They're right in front of you also.
Look at me. Wow. Just coming in the clutch. Wow. Okay. I think Stuck is going to try and join us here in a little bit.
Oh, not only is he trying, he's currently in his car. I'm going to get him in here in just a second. Let's do this.
Okay.
There he is.
All right, here he comes.
Old Stuck. Hey, look at him.
There he is.
Are we up? Am I on? Are we up?
You are.
We on? Am I live?
Oh, you are live.
You are live. The audio's not great, but
Can you hear me?
You're cutting in and out, but you're here.
We hear you, Luke.
Did you hear
Did
you hear my introduction?
Cinco de Mervis. Cinco de Mervis.
Cinco de Mervis.
Cinco de Mervis.
Cinco de Mervis.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
Cinco de Mayo.
That's very much why we're on this podcast right now.
Right.
The news just dropped from Jeff Passan. I will find that tweet real quick. Jeff Passan of ESPN reported this is really not that long ago.
An hour.
The Chicago Cubs are calling up half hour. Chicago Cubs are calling up top first base prospect Matt Mervis. Sources tell him he's expected to join the team tomorrow as it returns home to start a series against Miami. Mervis, 25, was hitting .286, .402, .560 with 6 home runs in 24 games at AAA Iowa. Big power prospect that is, of course, maybe underselling big power prospect. That's what Mervis has been doing in the minor leagues. He's been mashing.
No pun intended.
So it's a very obviously big news drop from Jeff Passan. You can always a trustworthy guy. Not that I think even when Luke was giving his last night, like the over under of Mervis, was it April or May 20th was your over under?
Yeah.
And we all took the deep under, and I think I'd said at one point, like, you'd see him on this homestand. Like, I think he would be there before the end of this next homestand. Didn't know that I completely expected tomorrow, but with the open 40-man spot, with the smaller roster maneuvering that would have to happen for him to get that spot, and with the way this offense has not only looked on the road, but today specifically too, it felt like there needed to be some, inject a little bit of youth in there, inject a little bit of energy, some positivity, and that's what Mervis is going to bring. You don't want to put too much expectations on a guy who's not, never played in the major leagues, who is only drafted 3 years ago, but he's a guy who's been doing everything right in the minor leagues, earned the opportunity, and at this point, it's time to see what he could do in the major leagues.
Yeah, no. I see a lot of people in the chat. They're excited, but also mad at the same time because they think that this should have happened earlier. And I hear you. Some basically agree at the same time, but I think we can just be happy that it's actually happening. Luke put the over under at May 20th. He didn't think it was going to happen this weekend. So overall, I'm content with it at least finally happening. So the question now for me is, will they play him every day? And, this team needs a spark right now. We're getting one hit by Patrick Corbin in game 4 of a series with the Nationals. They're down 3-0 right now on the verge of losing 3 or 4 against a team that's not that good. They've been lucky that every team in the division hasn't been good this week. I'm not going to ask Matt Mervis to put the team on his back. I'm just asking him to give quality at bats. And I do think that this is a short-term and a long-term thing. We got to find out what Matt Mervis is. Is he someone that can be part of the next great Cubs team? And, he's 25, went to Duke, college player, and he's done nothing but dominate the minor leagues the last year in a month in 3 days, 4 days, whatever. And so I'm I'm excited to see what he can do. And specifically against righties, I don't know if I want him to face lefties right away, but I think this is a big, like, this team needs a spark move. Like, Amaya's looked okay at the plate in his few chances today, even though he's made an out. I thought his first at bat, he took it to a 3-2 count. He grounded out fine. Then this second at bat, of course, he lined it right into a glove, so that was an improved at bat. But either way, you're kind of hoping that some of these young guys can come in and provide a spark for this team, especially right now with the top of the lineup kind of struggling. Nico Horner's having another bad day. Swanson hasn't had the best day. Bellinger is the only reason they have a hit, and it wasn't even like a Bellinger hit. Like, it was the guy lost it in the sun. You know what I mean? So this offense is really struggling right now. And again, you're hoping that Mervis can come up and just provide some stability for the middle to the bottom half of the lineup, because I think he'll probably hit somewhere between 5 and 8, more likely than not. So I'm excited to see it happen. And now everyone will continue clamoring about Christopher Morel. But I'll take this one today. This is a win no matter what happens with this game between the Nationals. This is way overdue, in my opinion.
Can you guys hear me? Is it working?
Yeah, we got you.
We can hear you.
Wow. One thing I would say that, like, when I asked a couple people at Wrigley Field last week, it was, just about Mervis and the call up and why it wasn't happening. And 2 out of the 3 said, people that haven't watched him enough, fans are expecting him that we're calling up, and the Cubs are calling up Anthony Rizzo. Don't put that expectation on him. Mm-hmm. Like, prospect wise, he's not even close to what Anthony Rizzo was. Now, that doesn't mean he couldn't eventually give you the same type of production. It does. You're not saying that guy's not going to be that guy, but your expectation shouldn't be this guy's going to do what Rizzo did when he called up, because it's a left-handed bat. He's at first base. He's a top prospect. He was crushing it at Iowa. It's not an apples to apples thing. Players are different. He's not the same prospect. The Cubs' expectations for him probably aren't Anthony Rizzo, but is it the right time to call him up? Yeah, they need a spark. I mean, this is a horrific road trip. This isn't just a bad road trip. This is a horrific road trip. So Ryan's got some serious business to do when he gets to the ballpark tomorrow. Order number 1, get to Boog Powell and find Pat Hughes and tell him the call needs to be, we like our taters mashed at Wrigley Field. That's a mashed tater. All of those. Get them all out there. He's serving them up mashed. That tater's gone. Get them out there. I want every shirt. I want credit every time it's said. I want, this guy likes his taters. He loves them mashed, baby. Get out the red potatoes. That baby's mashed. Every single time. I want it. Ryan, you got to pass this along.
I'll pass it along.
Marquee aren't listening to me. I've sent them 15 messages on this. I want it done. I tried to get a hold of my friend Mike Leary, the producer. Pass this on. We want our taters mashed at Wrigley Field, and we want them served up hot and spicy.
Hell yeah.
All right. I'm not going to write that down, but I'll just show Pat Hughes the clip of you saying that.
Show him the clip.
Or just show him the graphic that Lawrence put up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just show him, like, this is what we need, Pat, like, for morale. Right. Come on.
That's our graphic. Mashed taters now being served in the bleachers.
A little bit unrelated. Patrick Corbin's finally coming out. The Cubs got 2 hits off him.
Hey, look at that.
Consecutively. So they got 2 on.
Hey, another hit for Bellinger.
Maybe.
Can Mervis play today?
We'll get peak vibes maybe if we can get a Cubs 3-run comeback while doing the podcast. So
real quick, Fernando's super chat.
Oh yes, Fernando.
We get that back up, Law. We did not. It's there. Well, here we'll say Fernando Rodriguez, $1.99. It's happening with the things. I don't even know what they're called. It's
sirens.
Vibes. Sirens. There you go. 3 sirens, vibes. Yeah, it's big news, right? It's the news that not only is it big news, it's news that people have been calling for like some people have been calling for since day one. And maybe more rational people have said over the last couple of weeks, and even the last week or so since his road trip started, for sure. Yeah, and someone in the chat, what was it? Bears fan man said, no expectations, just like to see the Cubs realize they have a problem and are attempting to correct it. I think that's the good way to look at it. Is had this been last year, Mervis probably isn't up yet. Mervis, think about it. Like, it takes back to last year. It's a rebuilding team. They know they're not competing for, especially at this point in the season, it was pretty much like, yeah, they're not going to really compete in the division, right? Unless they turn something around. And they let prospects develop like prospects should. Stuck with some of those guys then on the big league roster that probably shouldn't have been there. And just kind of wrote out that season. Now you have an improved roster, you have an improved floor from the roster that you put together. But you have, as we talked about on the show yesterday, as Corey and Brennan have talked about, like, you have the improved floor, but you have different positions that could easily be upgraded, or at least given, like, you can address to try to fix some of the issues, or like that first base production. I'm looking at it coming into today per Fangraphs. The Cubs had the 25th like first base group in the majors. If you look at F-WAR, negative 0.4, right? Like, they haven't been the best group in the majors by far. So this is somewhere where you have a top prospect who's kind of showing he's at least close to ready for the show. And if you're serious about competing, yeah, you probably make that move now. A couple weeks ago, I still wouldn't have, right? Like, I was still on that train that let it kind of go. They're winning games. They're doing things right elsewhere to cover up the lack of production from that first base group, or the DH group, whatever you want to call it. The Dansby was hot, Ian Happ was hot, Nico was hot. Like, everyone else was making up for that lack of production. And it was, again, one of those things where don't rock the boat. Like, let them just keep winning while they can, while they're here, while they're doing it. Now they're not doing it because the rest of the offense is slumping, and you haven't gotten a complete, right. Like, Trey Mancini's been better, but like Eric Hosmer has still been sort of the same that he's been the whole year. So this is an area where you can address it with a prospect promotion. And yes, last year the Cubs weren't going to win. They didn't really necessarily do stuff like that. Now they're in more of a position where, maybe a prospect promotion can help them claw back into that win column, claw back in the division, and win a few more games. So yeah, I agree that it does show that they are legitimately trying to win, right? Like, they're not just going to ride out with the lack of production they're getting and just seeing what happens. Like, they want to win, and they're going to make some moves that allow them to win. Cody's hands are raised right now.
Mancini coming through. He almost hit it out, almost tied the game. Here we go. One run here, 3-1, 0 outs, second and third. Mancini, he's had some good at-bats today. I don't need no more Trey Mancini slander in the chat.
Anyway, I literally just said that, right? Like, Mancini has been better the last couple of weeks.
Yes, I tweeted it yesterday.
So that gives you at least one first baseman that you feel comfortable having at the plate. But there's also an area where, because he's splitting time between first base and DH, that's an area where you can address it with Matt Mervis. And the Cubs, they're doing it, which makes me think, like, okay, it kind of confirms that, okay, they actually do care about winning. Because if they didn't, they may not make that move right now. They do care about winning, and they do care about seeing, giving Matt Mervis that shot that he's earned, that he's kind of showed that it's time to see what he can do in the big leagues. I've joined that train. I joined that train like last week, a few days ago, and it's happening now. It's happening. People can be happy. Matt Mervis has earned the opportunity, and on the other side, it shows the Cubs are actually committed to trying to put a winner out there, even though it took them maybe a little bit longer than people wanted them to. They're there. They've met them at that mark now.
Yeah, no, I just think whether you have high expectations for Mervis or not, I think that the floor of Matt Mervis, despite us not knowing what he is going to be better than what Eric Hosmer has been giving the Cubs. I think that's the main point. I think you'll get better production. Will there be ups? Yes. Will there be downs? Yes, because there will be an adjustment period. This happens with every rookie player. We talked about with Seiya last year. We talked about it with Wisniewski this year. I don't expect him to just be incredible all year. But as far as the lineup construction and just trying to make it a little bit more balanced, I think he can bring that for the Cubs. And I think that's huge moving forward. And I think the spark alone can be something that can benefit this team. And again, this week they've been lucky with teams in the division losing. And they're like, this team has shown against really good teams in the month of April that they can be something. They can be in the playoff race at the end of the series or at the end of the season. So for them to do this finally, whether you're mad that they waited too long or not, this is a move that shows that they're serious about trying to win. So maybe they waited until they go back home because it's a home game and or what a home series, whatever. I don't know, but we'll see. We can yell if the Cubs miss the playoffs by a game or two by the end of the year. I doubt we're going to be blaming it on the fact of Matt Mervis not being there, but it is. You can look back at some of these games and think, well, maybe if they had made the move earlier, maybe they would have won a few games. So again, it is a what if hindsight view of it, but again, I'm just happy that they made the move now. That said, Miguel Amaya is at the plate with 1 out, 2 on here.
Another prospect move that was made.
Yeah, so let's see if I'm excited to see if Amaya can do something here.
Yeah,
in the clutch.
Yeah, just real quick, while we're I'm waiting to see your reaction because I'm not watching the game myself. Matt Mervis at AAA this year, coming into today, 112 plate appearances, 6 home runs, 27 runs, 27 RBIs, 140 WRC plus. He's got an OPS of 962 with a 286 average. His isolated power 275, which is great. And he's walking more than he ever has. His walk rate is 16.1%, more than he's ever walked at any step of the minors. And his strikeout rate is 17%, the second lowest at any level of the minors for him. So he's performing very well. And I know we've heard from some of the the prospect gurus that we know that has kind of said that part of that probably stems from teams kind of pitching around Matt Mervis. Like maybe he's walking a little bit more because teams aren't keen on pitching to him anymore as much as they were in the past. So not saying to take it with a grain of salt, but there's also a little bit of context that comes into play. But as an overall 112 plate appearances, that's when you start saying like maybe it's not a small sample size. Maybe this is a kind of hitter that can succeed. And yes, it's still at AAA. He has to. The jumping to the major leagues is the biggest jump, and you have to keep that going once you get there. But again, it's time where he proved that.
Amaya came so close from a go-ahead homer, but it's a sack fly, and they drive a run in. All right, so it's 3-2, top of the 8th with 2 outs with Horner coming up. He's due, man. He's due.
Anyway, so 350 plate appearances. You can kind of decide like that's not a small sample size anymore for Matt Mervis. Now he's done it for that long. See if he can see how much of that can translate to the major leagues. And it's not going to be he's up, he kills it for 1 week, or he struggles for 1 week, and you make a decision then. Like you need to give him the entire season before you even start kind of talking about his success or his failures or whatever at this level, because it's a hard jump regardless. But for a rookie, a rookie's making that jump, first major league experience. Like you saw with Christopher Morel, right? Like his first 3 weeks was awesome. And there was a month later on in the year where he really struggled. That could happen. As much as like people are still excited about Christopher Morel, if struggles come from Matt Mervis, I don't want to put that negative energy out there, but if that were to happen, like don't give up on Matt Mervis, right? Like he's a rookie. Right. He's making his first major league appearances. Like give him the runway to kind of prove if he can sink or swim at this level.
Oh, Nico, let's go. Tie ball game.
Uh-oh.
Let's go.
Well, there's that.
Nico Horner, no slander ever. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Let's go. Tie game. We might have to stay live until the game is over, because the Cubs started playing better the moment we went live. I'm just saying.
Man. For sure. I'm here.
Those
You,
Cubs. Those damn Cubs.
I'm with you though when it comes to what you said about Mervis. I'm intrigued to see what the Cubs do to, like, do you think they're going to have to send someone down, right?
They'll have to make a move. The roster's full. I want to say it's 13-13 right now.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, because they're not going to just DFA Hosmer, and I assume it will be Rios or
I'm not even going to make any
Velasquez.
assumptions. I think making assumptions is they always throw curveballs at us, so I don't like doing that. But if you're looking at it from a moves that could be made, like Edwin Rios does have options left. Like Javier Assad does have options. He just pitched. Like, could he go back down? And the Cubs ride with 12 pitchers for tomorrow and 14 hitters. Like those are moves that could be made. I'm not going to say what I think because then I'm going to be wrong. I know I know it'll be wrong, but
I've been wrong plenty of times.
Yeah.
Right now, if we had to make a guess, I would say Rios or Velasquez are heading back to Iowa. I would prefer it to be Rios just because he's not getting at bats anyway. And Velasquez is a solid fourth outfielder. That's just my feeling on it. But again, we'll see what happens. I'm sure they'll make that announcement tomorrow before the game.
Yeah, if they're calling him for tomorrow, I'd hope they'd have that announcement before a game. Yeah, I don't know who it's going to be. We'll see. But in my opinion, I'm giving my opinion now. In my opinion, like you said, that a Hosmer DFA I don't see coming tomorrow. I don't know that they cut him loose. We've talked about it like they have that ability to, right? He's not making a lot of money. He doesn't really have strong ties to the organization as like someone like Jason Hayward did. So that could be a move that's made. I don't know that I expect that one. I think they keep him around. But saying they do go in that direction, as we talked about last night on the show, it can't be it shouldn't be a three-way playing time split between Hosmer, Mervis, and Mancini. Like, they have to figure out a way to get Mervis a lot of playing time, let Mancini keep playing. Like, if Hosmer has to go move back into the Rios role to make sure that Mervis gets that playing time, that's just what has to happen, because you're not bringing up Matt Mervis to have him playing a third of the games or to have him riding the bench. That's dumb. That would be very dumb and just not the route. So you have to figure out a way to have Mervis play as often as you can to see what he could do up here. If he struggles and you need to option him back down to AAA, like, that's not the end of the world for Matt Mervis or for Cubs fans, right? If that has to happen, that just has to happen. But you can't just ride out the season with him playing a fraction of the time or sitting the bench for long periods of time. Like, you have to bring him up so that he plays a lot and you can see what you have in him right now and moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, I get people who want to just go ahead and DFA Hosmer, but it's kind of like what you just said. Like, if Mervis does struggle, then, you can send him back to Iowa, and that way you can at least have like an insurance plan there, I guess, or something like that. But yeah, no, it would be very dumb if they called him up and then he was basically in the Rios role. I don't think that's happening. I don't think, it just wouldn't make any sense if they were actually doing it that way. So I think that they have to get him at bat specifically against righties at the very least. And, we'll see. It's hard to not get excited and think that he's just going to come up here and mash just because of what we see in the minor leagues. But you got to remember, it's the minor leagues. And we just, we've seen it with other guys too that have come up. I mean, Wisniewski is like the perfect example. I know he's a pitcher, but like, the guy was great for the month of September, had a great spring, and we've seen ups and downs from him in this first month and a few days. Even we sat on this podcast and said we would, understand if the Cubs sent him back to Iowa to work on some things, because the swing and miss is not there right now. And at least whenever Kyle Hendricks comes back. So again, tempered expectations. I think that's the phrase I used with Wisniewski. So I'm going to have those same tempered expectations with Mervis. But I think as long as he is bringing you power and quality at bats, and what I mean by quality at bats, if he makes an out, make sure it's a productive out. If he can give you those types of at bats on top of what we've seen in Iowa in terms of the home run power and stuff like that, then I think you're pretty content. So that's where I'm at with him. And shout out to the ass man. I think he's back tonight.
Yeah, I was gonna say I said Assad just pitched. No, he's like still actively pitching.
He's still out there. He came in for Tyone, and it's the 8th inning. He's out there. He's got 48 pitches. So he's been very good. That's 5
innings for Assad right there.
Yeah.
There he goes. But and someone said you only have 5 options for the year for Assad. I know that. I don't. Not saying I expect them to send Assad back down. He will be down for a few days after this, though. Like that's for sure.
Right. So they could send him back and then bring him back whenever they need him again.
They'd have to wait the 15 days unless you're replacing an injury. Like there's a bunch of different rules for that kind of stuff. He may go back down because they want to keep him for starter depth now. And just have to work around those. He have 3 more options, I guess, now if that happens.
I think so.
Have to work around that. So that's something for. That's the Assad portion, but I'm like, but he's looked as far as game day pretty impressive today. 5 innings, coming in relief, shutting him down. That's pretty good, and that's the World Baseball Classic. Assad. Sorry, I know this is the Matt Mervis Emergency Podcast, but Assad's doing some cool things right now.
So
like to see from him.
Someone asked in the chat earlier who's pitching tomorrow for the Marlins, and I'm going to look right now because I'm intrigued, and it is Cabrera, who I believe they faced on Saturday last weekend in the 7-6 almost comeback win. He struck out 12 or 13 Cubs, but he also walked a bunch of guys, and it was the beginning of the Cubs failing to score with runners in scoring position. They had the bases low with no outs multiple times in that game, and they didn't score at least once in one of those scenarios. So the Cubs have seen this guy good. They just weren't able to capitalize in big moments against him. He's a right-handed pitcher, so expect Mervis to be in that lineup tomorrow. Also, Justin Steele pitching for the Cubs tomorrow. So you're going, if they can make this comeback win, you're going back home with some momentum on top of Mervis coming in to help the offense. And you got one of the best pitchers in the National League to this point going for you, as in the Cubs. So as far as Mervis matching up against this Cabrera guy, I mean, Cabrera reminds me a lot of what we've seen from Wisniewski, where he's just had a lot of uncompetitive pitches. He had a lot of uncompetitive pitches in that game against the Cubs on Saturday. He has nasty stuff. He struck out a bunch of guys, but he also, like I said, he walked a lot of guys too. So as we've talked about with Mervis, he has a really good walk rate. I think this is a great matchup for him. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and hit 2 or 3 homers, but I think he can give you quality at bats against a guy like Cabrera if he just plays within himself and continues to do what he's been doing in the minor leagues. Because this Cabrera guy, he has just been wild.
So I'm looking at Cabrera's splits right now, and he actually has the lefties. Well, lefties don't actually hit very well against him. Righties end up hitting pretty well against him. Righties are hitting 289 with a 950 OPS against him. Lefties 164 with a 610 OPS. I haven't watched him enough to see what exactly is wrong, but I will also say lefties appear to be getting a lot less lucky against him. They have a 206 BABIP, while righties have a 407 BABIP, which the more of those come down, the more those numbers start to, those numbers don't stay like that forever. So it looks like right now he's having reverse splits, but righty lefty, Matt, we've seen the reports, like Matt Mervis has been seeing every pitcher pretty well in the minor leagues. Like even lefty on lefty, he's doing pretty well. Lefty, righty, like whoever it is, he's been hitting pretty well against most pitchers. So I'm not saying I don't start him tomorrow. It's just that Edward Cabrera, at least right now, his numbers are a little bit more reverse split type, where you would want me. I'm not saying you want more righties. Like righty on righty matchups are still hard. It's just right now it seems like he's getting lefties out a little bit better than he's getting righties, but you're also not calling up Mervis to bench him. Like I would agree. Like it would be it would be fun to see Matt Mervis in the lineup tomorrow.
Yeah. I think the one thing that Matt Mervis has for him going into this game, though, is that no one's seen him. Like, no one at the major league level has seen him. And as we've seen with other guys who come up, Christopher Morel, example of last year, came up. No one had any kind of note on him. No one really knew. And, he started his career with a 24 game on base streak, something like that. So I don't think it matters about the splits or anything of that tomorrow. Now, Cabrera has shown to be more effective against lefties. That's fine. So if Matt Mervis has a good game tomorrow, then you're feeling really good about Matt Mervis doing well against a pitcher who's done well against lefties, right? So that's my hope. Thank you for providing those numbers because I didn't look into it. I was just looking at the MLB at Bat app and looking at just the matchup in general. Top of the ninth inning, Ian Happ just walked to start the inning. Finnegan is back in for the Nationals, who pitched the ninth inning yesterday, I believe, in which if you watched or listened to yesterday's postgame, we all complained about the ninth inning and how it went down. Hopefully the Cubs can come through here in the ninth inning today. So he's got a 6 ERA as in Finnegan. So, we'll see what happens here. But it's just this Mervis thing. It will be a fun story to follow considering how he just kind of came on the scene. I mean, it's kind of like a legendary story in a way because he went undrafted. I know it was a 5-round draft in 2020, but no one talked about this guy until last year. And holy shit, Seiya! Oh, he just missed the go-ahead homer. They're sending Ian Happ home. Oh no, they're not. Never mind.
No. Look at that. They're trying to get me the who you got win with Bellinger right now. That's what's going on. That's why.
My God, let's go.
Is it still no outs or
no outs? Second and third. That's twice now. Amaya missed. He hit it to the warning track, and then Seiya, 86 miles per hour, top of the zone. He just cranked that one into left field. Woo!
I love Cody's color commentary right now. His play-by-play
I have some color commentary.
I don't
have some color commentary experience. I did it back at the Harvard of the Midwest back in the day. Yeah. I said we're staying live until the game is over. All right,
we could do that. That's fine. I don't need
or
to go
at least until the Cubs take the lead and hopefully they win. I don't know.
Works for me.
I'm happy to sit here and just go do this because I think this.
Unless we get into like a 10th and 11th inning situation, then they want to leave.
Yeah. If we get like a comeback winner while live, I think that would be immaculate vibes going into Friday.
I'll say, how about if they blow this rally they have right now, then we know the vibes and the good luck that we brought, the good karma is over.
Is over, yeah. Gary's asking why is Cody so delayed? I'm watching on my Roku, like I'm on a smart TV and it's like on a streaming app, which it's always like 10 seconds behind or whatever.
It's all right. I like how this turned into like come on, Bellinger.
It's a watch along / emergency.
It turned into a watch along.
That's fine. Everything's good.
That's hilarious. One more thing about Mervis though. Oh my God, talking to him in spring training, and we kind of talked to him a couple times over the last year. I like his mentality, man. I like the mentality of maybe he deserved an opening day roster spot, right? And maybe on a different team he might have gotten it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he really understood, like, you know what, like, I'm not the one making the decision. This is what, at least, we both tweeted that interview that I did with Matt Mervis in spring, and one of the answers that stood out is like, I'm not making those decisions. It's not up to me when that happens. I'm just going to go down there, keep grinding, and wait for my call. And that's what he said that a few times throughout the last year, like especially as his kind of legend started rising. I like that mentality of someone that's just, like he probably knows he deserves the shot, right? But he didn't let that affect him. Same with, Christopher Morel, right? Like Christopher Morel probably disappointed that he didn't get that opening day roster spot, but went down, kind of had that mentality of like, I'm going to force the Cubs hand and make them call me up. And both those guys, but Mervis, since we're talking about him, like has done it. He's gone out and hit, like he's like he doesn't belong in AAA anymore. He's forced the Cubs to call him up. And so I like the mentality of don't let not being on the opening day roster stop you or slow you down, because you know what, the Cubs are going to need more than 26 guys throughout the year. And that's also something that David Ross talked about at the beginning of the year. Like, they're going to need more than 26 guys to get them through the season. So just because a guy like Mervis didn't get that opening day spot, he was going to be up at some point helping the Cubs. Jed Hoyer said that, was it last week? I want to say too, like same thing, like he's going to be up here, just didn't know when. Well, a week later and here he is, right? But I've liked the mentality and seeing Matt Mervis go down, not let that disappointment affect him, and he just goes and he does his thing. He did exactly what he did all of last season.
Bellinger and Wisdom have struck out now. 2 outs, 2 on. I'm
Mancini,
man. He's my who you got. He's the one who drove in the first run. So
maybe we should end it before the vibes get too bad.
No, we'll wait and see if he makes an out here, and if he does, then yes, we'll.
I'll say this. Here's what the problem is: we got like 85 people watching. Why aren't there 85 likes in my stream?
Yeah, that's
I did this for you out of nothing. Like, let's go, people! Press that little thumb button. Thank you very much.
Law.
Appreciate you. Let's go.
Hit the like for law.
As far as like what you're saying about the beginning of the year not making the opening day roster, I don't really think he took that personally. It was one really good minor league season. He was, I think the Cubs wanted to see if he could do it again. And as we talked with Alex Cohen at the beginning, or at like a week and a half ago or so, he talked about how Mervis is playing even better than last season. And part of me is like, did they wait too long? What's the difference between now and a week ago? Not much, probably. But I think that we've seen in the past the Cubs call up guys way too early, and then they send them back down, and sometimes things have gone well and some things haven't. I'm not trying to use Mervis as an example of that, but in a good way. But I am saying that they were like, I don't know, they wanted to see more. So Mancini pop out. It looks like, we got to end the show.
Well,
the vibes are
I put out the energy and it happened.
God,
sorry for putting out that energy.
I can't believe Bellinger didn't come through there, and I can't blame Corey today. I'm blaming you. So
he did get the first hit for like the first 7 innings. Actually, he had the only 2 hits for like 7 1/3 or whatever it was. So can't blame me either.
Wouldn't have I see P. Will supporter complaining about Wisdom in that moment. I actually wouldn't have mind Magical coming up, whether it was for Mancini or for what do you call it, Wisdom. But whatever, that's hindsight. We've seen Wisdom come through before, so I'm not going to complain about Wisdom. Anyone who's complaining about Patrick Wisdom, the tied for most homers in baseball, I believe still. I could be wrong about that. I think you need to just chill. But anyway, this was a celebratory podcast. I'm not going to complain about anything.
Yeah, Matt Mervis is on his way. He's coming up tomorrow.
He's coming up tomorrow, guys, and
that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and again, thanks to everyone for checking out CHGO Cubs Podcast, this emergency edition. Matt Mervis will be in the Cubs lineup tomorrow. Can't wait. And Ryan, he will be at the ballpark. He'll hopefully gets get a one-on-one with him. Maybe we'll see. Doubtful.
I'll do my best.
He's gonna try. But anyway, I'm sure he'll have something related to Matt Mervis at allchgo.com tomorrow, and so we'll look out for it. Me and Corey will be in studio tomorrow for pre and post. So we will see you there, 12:45 pregame. So come tune in with us. Anything else, Ryan?
No, Barb, we're gonna be live tomorrow. So if you're coming back to watch
Barb's
this,
not here, but if she watches it, we were live, but when you're watching it now, we're not live.
But we'll be live Friday pregame and postgame.
Yeah, we'll be live 12:45 again, 12:45 Friday for live. Friday 120 Cubs Marlins. Anyway, thanks. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app, use the code CHGO when you sign up. All right, bye.